So knowing my organization, knowing where the
Yeah.
revenue comes from, and knowing how this industry is evolving and what is the future for it, and what is that we as an organization have a vision to grow and go in a certain direction, only then I can translate and work, in terms of aligning my HR strategies to make them to achieve their desired outcome.
All right, so welcome everybody. This is the Leaders Journal podcast, and I interview leaders in different industries and the best of the best. We really want to find out things from them, and these leaders are the ones that are leading the charge in their own industry, and we want to be able to hear from them. And there's many things that they can share about their industry. So, without further ado, we have Ramani here. Hi, Ramani.
Good morning, Jason. How are you?
I'm very good. I'm very good. It's Singapore is raining right now, right? So we can hear some thunder here and there, right? So Romani, just introduce yourself. What do you do and where are you from?
All right, a quick introduction. So I have quite a journey of lifetime in terms of I've been and I have lived and been to many places. So I'm basically from India, and then it's been 10 years now. I'm in Singapore, and Singapore is one place which actually helped me to build my career in HR. So
Awesome.
since last almost 7.5 years, I have been into the advertising industry and climbing up my ladder in the HR leadership.
Yeah.
So overall in overall a career of more than 15 years, I think precisely it might turn around like 17 or something. I started as a recruiter, and then I had my own journey in terms of growing up into a full fledged HR HR person in terms
Yes.
of taking more in terms of my job scope. And I think
Yeah.
that's something which I feel like there's a lot to do, there's a lot to do in this space, and that curiosity keeps me going.
Fantastic, awesome. So I'm always curious. So I'm always trying to interview leaders in every industry, and today is really the idea of HR. I'm very big on human capital, always thinking about this whole idea of why are even people in HR? You know, sometimes people see HR as, oh, you guys are paper pushers and things like that. So we want to change the mindset of HR, and I do feel HR should be in the forefront, right? Really beside the CEO, because talent and human capital is so important in this day and age compared to a long time ago, right? So I'm very curious about your own leadership journey and origin story. Like, how did you even begin in this HR and being that leader in HR?
All right. So as I told you, like it's actually my passion in terms of one, I like interacting with people, and two, I like to create some sort of a difference and some sort of impact when it comes to this people part of a organization culture.
Mm,
So the best thing is like when you become HR, I think this is your playground, and you have a lot of what do you say, a lot of scope to make those differences and bring those changes. So one thing that I consider is like this is one of the best opportunity wherein I work for an organization and I look at the changing trends and I try and bring out those innovative ideas wherein I can make that difference in the people space. Now, talking about people as such, one thing I strongly believe is the only differentiating factor in any industry for the organizations competing with each other is the talent that they hold. So
yes.
technologies, they keep coming and going with the trends, and they keep evolving, and everybody buy and have for themselves. But talent is something is something that they handpick, that they choose, they develop, and they customize their whole skill sets, and that is how they create a differentiating factor in the industry for themselves as an organization. So one thing that if you want to be that winning organization in the
Yeah.
marketplace, is something that you have to invest a lot in
Mm,
your talent. You have to
yeah.
focus a lot in your talent. And talking about the seat of HR on board or on the leadership table, I think we
Yes.
already hold that seat. It's
Mm,
more up to us how we actually create that value,
yes.
uh, by being on that place. So that's
Yeah.
that's what I believe in. So yeah, in
Awesome.
terms of my leadership journey, yes, um, it's not something that or personally for me, I aim like, okay, I want to become a CHRO one day. It's
Mm,
more about I want to do more in the
yes.
space of HR. And when I say more, is something that to keep myself very much up to the times,
Yeah.
to keep evolving with the times, with the latest trends, with the latest technologies, to always be understanding about the kind of talent that we are bringing in and how we are going to create that differentiating factor. Now, this is what is leading me to a certain level of, journey. In
Yeah.
the process, what happens is, like, when you tick and when you work on certain things, you always have that kind of a feeling to share the same thing with somebody who is already entering into the stream of HR. And that is another thing, when you actually share what you have learned in the process
Mhm.
with someone who's actually entering into this field, is another way of you are actually developing and not letting them reinventing the wheel, instead of sharing your stories and sharing your experiences and helping them to enhance that. So that's more or less my leadership journey has begun, and I still feel I'm somewhere very much at the start, and there is a long way to go.
Awesome. I like what you said about differentiating factor. I mean, every business, and I coach many SME business owners, right? Small, medium enterprise, and it's always about trying to find that edge. So, what is that edge in your business? And you're right to say that technology and all that, after a while, everybody will get to that level. And the real things is not so much of the tools, but the user of the tools. And that's the talent, and that's the people. And people are the ones that are the most genius and the most talented. They can really 10x certain things, while somebody else, a tool in another person, is just 1x. Right? So it's hugely different depending on the people. And I like the idea that you said that businesses needs to see talent as the great differentiating factor. And the thing about it, it's like when I coach people, leaders, sometimes they don't see it that way. They see that you just fit that role and that's it. But they don't give that opportunity to, hey, I want to try this out. Can I do this, all that? So thanks for sharing that. Good, great perspective. What I hear from you also, I mean, your journey, 15 over years, so many things that you've learned, right? So many lessons to learn about human capital development and just HR in general. What do you think are some learning lessons for you personally that made you the leader that you are now?
All right. So one thing, I mean, one thing that I keep telling is HR is not somebody who can work in isolation or in silo. I know
Yes.
we have our own, a body of a body of education, and that we bring on table,
Yep.
and this whole subject matter experts that we claim ourselves to be in comp and ben, in
Yep.
employee engagement, in learning and development and
Yep.
stuff. So there's a lot to do, and there's a lot that we bring in the organization as a part of compliances, processes and policies and stuff. But beyond that, when you really have to create a value within the business, the one big learning that I always had is you have to understand your business. If you don't
Mm.
understand, what is your organization business, how you actually generate the revenues for it, and who are those, those key roles or those critical people who
Yep.
actually work and, make this happen. Unless and until I don't understand all these things, I won't be able to make or create any sort of a value in the process. I might come from a school of thoughts wherein I have learned a lot in terms of different coaching methods, different training programs, different reward systems, but is that something which is relevant to the organization that I'm working for? So knowing my
Mm.
organization, knowing where the
Yeah.
revenue comes from, and knowing how this industry is evolving and what is the future for it, and what is that we as an organization have a vision to grow and go in a certain direction, only then I can translate and work, in terms of aligning my HR strategies to make them to achieve their desired outcome. So I'm a big fan of Dave Ulrich, and I really appreciate the new school of thoughts of HR that he brings on the table. And I always listen, I learn from him. So a lot of things that I say might resonate of, or, what you have heard from him as well. But I think this is
Hmm.
something which is very much true to the times. And this is something how HR can create a difference. And this is one of the biggest learning as well, like know your business, know your people, know your stakeholders, and know from where the
Yeah.
revenue is coming from.
Awesome. That's quite rare that somebody really pinpoints the revenue streams and all that coming back to talent development, talent management, compensation, because it is a universal truth. If I talk to any salesperson, best salespeople, if I talk to the best leaders out there, it's always they have the same mindset, and that mindset is what? Different folks, different strokes, right? It's always different. If you're in a different industry, they want something different from another industry. And as HR, we want to be able to understand that they have very unique needs that is different from the past company that we worked with,
Absolutely.
right? So. having that differentiating ability to understand the person, the industry, the team, is definitely a huge learning lesson. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Pleasure. I mean, I absolutely agree with you. I think this is something we all should little start focusing on. Yeah.
Yeah. And one thing interesting, we talk about HR a lot of times. I don't know whether you noticed that, but so many leaders, especially when I work with HR business partners, linked to some of their business units. So sometimes the leaders will have they see HR as oh, it's a HR problem. I have an issue with this person. It's a HR problem. Go and talk to HR. So the funny thing is that whenever I do leadership coaching, they push the blame and they push the responsibility to HR a lot of times. And I see that that's really wrong. They have a role to play as a business unit leader, and don't push it to HR. Do your job. If there's an attitude problem, it's not HR's problem, it's your leadership problem. Do you see that sometimes?
I mean, see, anything which is related to people cannot be only
Yeah,
HR problem. And this
exactly.
is where managers and HR business partner and work together. So when we say that they have
Yes.
to work
Yes.
strongly, that
Yeah.
means that we have to really work like hand in glove. So their
Yeah.
team is also equally HR's team, and we have to actually
Yes.
enable managers with all sort of tools, all sort of resources,
Yeah.
all sort of techniques and strategies that we can give them that will make them more capable of managing their team efficiently. It's not about
Exactly.
me as a person in HR stepping into and being closer to a team and deriving some sort of credits like, yes, all your problems I'm there to solve. It's more about I will actually enable your manager because he or she is the person on day-to-day basis who's working closely
Yes.
with you, and they are the closest
Yes.
one who can make difference to your career and your every day-to-day work life.
Exactly.
So
Totally.
yeah, so once we start doing that, obviously it will never be an
Yeah.
HR problem unless until they need some sort of employment certificate. Yes, that is HR problem. So
Yeah, certification of that. Yeah, but I do see that a lot of business unit leaders they will come to HR and says, "Hey, what is new? I want to train my guys. What is new?" They're always looking for you as the perfect partner to develop their talent, to grow their talent, and sometimes even an advisor to some of the people issues that they have. But advisor is very different from being a nanny, right? We shouldn't be nannies. We should empower them with exactly
frankly,
what you
no
said.
nannies, no agony aunts, no, no, no. We work for organizations and we actually set standards towards
Yeah.
organization behavior. So when we say that it's yes talent, and at the same time there's an equal responsibility of how you actually develop those processes and systems in the organizations, how you make them as sophisticated as they can be, the best in the marketplace.
Yeah.
And that is when our people are happy and the new people who want to come and join us are more excited about doing that.
Yes, HR also has that role of talent attraction. How do we make it in such a way that we are able to attract talent because the best talent will give us best results,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, I'm actually curious because you've been doing this, and I want to understand from you personally, what is the best practices you personally adopt, or some of the focuses that you have when it comes to just people development? What work, what doesn't work? I'm just curious to
That's
know.
my favorite area of interest. And I think at this stage where I am in my career right now, picking up a new role, I very recently had my discussion with my new CEO. And he was asking me like, Ramni, how can I support you? And I said like, no, it goes other way. It's more about how can I
Mm,
support you? And the answer for
yeah,
that is, what are you aiming for the next 2 to 3 years? Which direction do
yeah,
you are you going, as are you taking the business into? Okay, and that translates back in terms of what sort of skills that we need to build, and do we already have, or do we need to hire, or we need to develop? So that defines my strategy as a HR to
mm,
support you in this journey. So yeah, so if we always work that way, again, it comes back to the same thing. When you know your business and you know the direction
yeah,
of your business, obviously then you can work in terms of your learning and development strategies. You can look at your skill sets, you can look at the competencies and capabilities, and what you need to do to hire or develop with what you have right now. Second thing is in terms of giving that workplace, and again I'll quote Dave over here is, making
Mm,
your organization that winner in the marketplace. Now, that is very important.
yeah,
When people come and join the organization, there'll be a list of things that they will expect: cool office space, amazing coffee
yeah,
machines, maybe some sort of great engagement activities, and now a lot of sponsorship for work from home office, and there could be 110 things.
yeah,
And while all these things are very much
yeah,
considered to be HR's problem, or HR to be a
yeah.
provider. Having said that, I think the association to organization which is competitive, which challenge your current potential and push you to do better, and which actually raise your capabilities. Now, this is something that brings a level of job satisfaction and a sense of achievement to any person.
Yes.
And when we can hit that nerve for every person working for the organization, I think we are doing a good job. And for that, obviously, we need to be more ambitious as an organization. We need to be evolving with times, and very much up to the be the winner in that market. So that's something that brings up. So yeah, it just translates. The focus areas obviously are very much over here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I like the best practice that you mentioned about this idea of asking back the CEO, like, what do you really want? Because people and human capital is always there to support business goals, right? It's always about that. And it's about just develop people for the sake of developing because you have a budget this year, you need to clear it,
Exactly.
right? A lot of HR do, a lot of HR do that. But really, it's like, what is the business goal, and then what it trickles down, and what is the talent, either the talent needs, development, the developmental needs, or even when it comes to hiring, what do we need to be that, what do you call it? That ideal, I don't know, you mentioned that something about the ideal workplace or something like that, right? To be that leader in
Yeah,
the
yeah.
market,
So to be the winner in the market.
winner in the market. Yes, yes, yeah. The idea of being a winner in the market. Awesome, awesome. Really want to hear from you when it comes to so many different things in HR, right? We got this whole pandemic coming here, and the whole idea of work from home. There's this thing called great resignation that's happening because people just don't feel fulfilled, or talking too many things about work but don't talk about the connection. So the HR landscape looks quite different in the future. Now coming out of the pandemic, Singapore, we are now like, wow, everybody is no mask and all that. What is your view when it comes to the future of HR? What does that look like? And what do we do as HR leaders in the future to adapt to that
Yeah.
change?
Okay. So one thing for sure. I mean, before even the pandemic hit, we all were talking about HR being replaced by HR bots, and
Yeah.
so
Imagine interviewing with an HR bot, right? What is your salary? What do you want? Yeah. Okay, go for
so
it.
so I mean, yes, I think for every function and then for every profession, there is a certain level of challenges, and
Yeah.
I think that's something that we also have to understand, that how uh, we as human beings are advancing or evolving over the times. One thing which is for
Yeah.
sure is digitization, and I think digitalization is something which was taught even before pandemic, but pandemic is something which has
Yes.
affirmed to all of us that yes, you have to now embrace it, you don't have choice. Okay.
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing that suddenly it was digitization, it was pandemic, and then suddenly HR also started
Yeah.
realizing that there's a lot with technology that we should know,
Yeah.
we should be on top of
Yeah.
it. And suddenly we were working very closely
Yeah.
with IT team, which was never the case before.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's true. That's
so
true. Yeah.
so yeah, and you go to any HR conferences, you'll see loads of HR technologies which are right out there in the market. There
Yes.
are so many things
Yep.
which we find as the innovation in the HR field, and are we trying
Yep.
to capitalize on it for for our
Mm.
profession or for our organization, yes or no? So it's high time, we should
Yeah.
start thinking, and we should start thinking in terms of the amount of information. The HR analytics is such a powerful thing that has happened for to us in
Yeah.
last 1 decade. Now this is something that how we are capitalizing on all the information and the data that we are getting, and how are we finding a relevance to for our organizations in terms of deriving certain outcomes and helping them in terms of assessing certain things and making their plans for the future.
Yeah.
So yes, when you call digitization, it's something which is embracing the HR technologies, making it or using it for your benefit, wherein employees feel a seamless, experience. Another thing is more about innovation.
Yeah.
What are we doing in terms of by
Mm.
capitalizing on these kind of technologies and bringing some sort of innovation at workplace and making it again a very easy, user friendly life for all the employees.
Yeah.
Another thing is big, and this is very big. You have to, if you want to understand the pulse of your organization, you should have all the information that you need. It starts from the demographics, it starts from very little things like how many
Mm.
female, how many males do I have, how many millennials, how many zillennials do I
Mm.
have, or baby boomers for that matter, and how many of them are in
Yeah.
the leadership role, how are
Yeah.
they going with their career path, what are their expectations in terms of employee benefits, rewards, and compensation. Does that change with every generation? What is that the new
Mm.
gen? If, for example, in advertising industry, you'll see mid to junior level, most of them millennials leaders, and their expectations out of the role is just
Yeah.
not restricted to the reward itself, but they come to office because they have a passion to work in a certain way, and they look for the community over there, a
Yes.
community to work with a similar passion and grow.
Yeah.
So this is how you capitalize on a lot
Yeah.
of information. Or something as simple as how many cat lovers and
Mm.
dog lovers do I have? How many vegans and how many avocado toast lover guys do I have? So everything helps. So how I'm capitalizing on my information and am I actually staying on top of it? So way forward is make the best use of what you have in terms of these kind of tools and
Yeah.
technologies. And seriously, we really don't have to do reiki now or read some sort of a pulse to know these things. It's so much there and
Yeah.
it's so much easy to access,
Yeah.
that make the best use of it. And these are the things which will actually help you to derive a relevant customized plan for your organization that you're working.
Yeah.
So suddenly the value increases. You can measure a lot of things when you do employee
Yeah.
engagement survey. You can measure a lot
Yeah.
of things, in terms of engagement score, in terms of their belongingness score,
Yeah.
in terms of the value proposition, all these things. So I think this
Mm.
is how we create the future of HR is actually capitalizing on all these latest tools and technologies and not to ignore the information that we
Mm.
have.
Fantastic. It really comes back down to what you said at the start. The differentiator factor is the talent. But each talent is almost like my example is always for leaders is you are a gardener and you have plants. If you don't know each plant needs what, because each plant is very different, same, right? As a HR leader, same thing. If you don't know that this plant needs this to thrive and this plant doesn't, they want something else, then you don't know your people. But if you know that as a good gardener, then you know that, hey, can I create the environment, which is what you're actually saying, using technology to get that data to understand the plant or the person so that you can create an environment where that person feels that they can be more engaged, right? Feels that they can thrive and naturally output and performance increases.
Beautifully put. I think, yeah, you actually got exactly what I wanted to say.
Fantastic. Yeah. Same thing. I think that's the mark of a great HR leader. That's the mark of a great um, business leader, and that's the mark of a great salesperson. Always about trying to figure out for that person what is that 3-year plan for that person. What is that 5-year plan? What do they really want in life, and how do we overlap what they want in life with what we want in our business goals? And then we really know that person, and then we can bring that whole idea of human back to
Absolutely.
HR, right? Right, understanding the person. They're not
Absolutely.
machines.
Absolutely.
All right, fantastic. I just want one more thing. If there's anything that you feel that if there's something like, for example, if new people want to join HR, right, and they're wondering what on earth is HR? I thought you guys just do this, 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 right? Is there anything that you can share with new people who are looking
I
forward
mean,
to
one
join
thing I
HR?
really, really encourage all the undergrads to consider HR as a profession. We really need, in future, a good batch of HRs coming in and taking it over.
Yeah.
One thing for sure, like the curiosity to make a difference in any
Yes.
person's life. I think HR is a very
Yeah.
closest role. So when you sit in an organization,
True.
you really have
True.
the opportunity to create that difference in those people's career and in their lives, in their every day-to-day well-being.
Yeah.
So I think this brings a lot of satisfaction, and even after so many years of my
Yeah.
career, I still don't have a dull day. And that is something that is a kind of a passion that you need to stay social, stay around with people, be curious about innovations, and
Yeah.
and just be passionate about what you're doing. So if this is what which will keep you equally excited even in your 40s and 50s, I think that is something that HR is a kind of a career to be considered, and it's one of the I'm like yeah, so I'm very happy with it, and I would like to promote this as one of the careers to be picked by people.
Definitely, but it's very rare. Usually, like, Asian parents, doctor, doctor, lawyer, engineer, and
All
now it's
my
HR.
batchmates are
That's
full of engineers, most of them IT industry. I
yeah,
think it's me, and then there are a few who chose marketing. But it's up to you,
yeah,
right? You have to enjoy. And as I said, and I was
exactly.
enjoying when I
Yeah,
was in my early 20s. I'm enjoying when I'm in my 40s, and I'll
yeah,
keep enjoying this even when I'm in my 50s. I think that
yeah,
is the profession that I picked. It defines me and defines my career and my life. So
yeah, yeah. So that's I mean, it comes across as it's really the idea of if you're passionate about the topic that you're doing, and it can be HR for you, it's HR for me, is coaching leaders and all that. But if you're passionate about it, then you don't really feel that. You feel that it's a lot of innovation always. You feel a lot of passion, that fire always burns. And the beautiful thing is that engagement is linked to that, right? So if we as leaders are not engaged, what more other people, right? Engagement is linked to something inside that has a fire, and then you just have to fan it rather than try to replace it with
exactly.
another kind.
Amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. So, guys, thank you for tuning in. This is the Leaders Journal and the HR edition, really understanding the HR landscape, which is going to be bigger and bigger in the future. Many companies are pushing more and more HR leaders into the forefront because the talent development, human capital is something that's going to bring us to the next 10 years. Right. That's been your host, Jason. Thank you for
Thank
tuning
you.
in.
Pleasure
Stay
being
tuned.
here. Thank you.